Good morning or good afternoon.
Helen.
Hey, I'm
Hey,
glad
Glenn.
the audio is working.
Hi, hello everyone.
Hey, Riggs, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How about you, Lynn?
Doing good. Waiting for the hurricane to go over us soon, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, looks like it's here. I mean, it's raining outside.
Yeah, it's raining. I guess I've heard some impact at Wilmington, so we'll see how that goes. I hope the school will be open tomorrow. Who knows? Let's just wait 2 more minutes and we will go ahead and get started. Okay, it's about the time. So thank you, Ram. I think you already got this recorded. I see.
No, I think you'll have to do it because.
Okay, let me try to do it because it says it's asking me to stop recording.
Okay.
Yeah, I see that it's recording.
Okay, it's recording.
Okay, I guess it's automatically enabled somehow. I know
Somebody else did it.
Yeah, I know with I think we changed the URL with the older URL. With April with the host, it's always automatic recording and automatic publishing too. So we'll see how that goes. So welcome everybody to today's community meeting. So you guys should be able to go to the agenda document to add anything you want to discuss. But I would like to quickly announce that we have 2 new releases that just went out in the past 2 weeks. So 1.1.14 and 1.2.5. One of the follow-up would be the Java issue that was discussed on Twitter and also the community meeting 2 weeks ago, that Istio breaks Java 9. I think it's a experimental incubate feature of Java 9. So that's actually being fixed in Envoy, and the Istio community also picked up the fix and rolled it out to 1.1.14 and 1.2.5. So if you're interested in that fix, please pick it up and let us know how that goes. Next week, we are hoping to roll out 1.3 release. We are working on release notes. We are also working on release blogs. And there's a lot of testing going through this week. So if you want to have a peek on Istio 1.3, I believe release candidate, I can't remember with 0 or 1, I just put in yesterday, is also available. So you should be able to try it. Go to our GitHub on the release download page. You should be able to see the preview release of the release candidate for the release. So please give a try and let us know if you see any critical issue. We'd rather have them addressed before the release officially goes out. Any questions? The release update on 1.3 and also the newer releases for 1.1 and 1.2?
So maybe Lynn, just to give some update on 1.3. So it's going pretty well, and we are going to cut hopefully last RC on Friday afternoon Pacific time, to give it some time to test the perf testing over the weekend. And if everything goes well, which we expect, this will become the final release on Tuesday.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much for the additional detail. Any other questions? Okay, so I saw there's a couple of community event that's been planned. I don't know if we have any of the speakers. Riggs, do you want to quickly talk about the first one since you're on?
Yes. So Lee Calcott and I are doing a workshop. It's a 6-hour workshop to help Latin American contributors become active contributors in Istio. So my ask from the community would be, if there are any issues that you believe would be great for people that are starting to contribute to Istio, please do add the label to the issues, because I'll be relying to the issues that are labeled good for first or for beginners in our repo to let them know where they can get started. So that would be my ask and a way for you to support this event. Our goal is to foster more contributions from Latin American contributors. And I'm actually very, very happy that Lee agreed to co-facilitate with me, because it sends a very powerful message that we are a truly open source project. And I think that's the right example to set in the first ever summit of open source contributors in Latin America. The workshop is taking place in the Wiseline offices in Guadalajara. So Wiseline, I don't know if you are aware, but in Mexico they provide tech support services to enterprises, and they do a lot of open source development, and they use a lot of open source tools to provide their services, and they agreed to host the event.
That's awesome. Thank you, Riggs.
So it's not in Mexico City. I saw a question there. It's in Guadalajara, Mexico. That's Western.
Yeah.
I would ask you to visit ccoss.org. I'll put the link on the chat. There you can find information about videos that we will have for the different sessions and stuff. I don't believe that the workshops will be broadcasting online, because these are very long workshops. These are 6-hour workshops. So I don't think that will be the case, but definitely for the talks and the keynotes, there will definitely be videos going online.
Okay, is anything going to be recorded of the workshop?
I don't know. I guess I'll find out when I get there, but at least the organizers have not mentioned that the workshops will be recorded in any way.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thank you, Riggs.
And I will also be doing a report on the event for the community and sharing that document with all of you as to how things went, sentiment around Istio, and yeah, just relating what the experience looked like.
That's awesome. Look forward to hear. Yeah, thanks. We also have NYC meetup at Google at New York. I don't know, Megan, are you involved with that? Maybe give a quick update.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Yeah, so on the evening of September 16th, we're holding just like a small Istio meetup at the Google office. Just going to be a couple of talks and like an open discussion, some demos. So if you or someone you know is on the East Coast and is interested in attending, the link to register is there. It's free. Yeah, we would love to have you join us.
Okay,
it's not just for contributors; it's for users too.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. Now I guess the floor is yours. We'd like to open it up for any discussions. And I know we have a couple of release managers for 1.3 also on the call. So if you guys have specific questions about 1.3, this is a good time to ask. Or 1.2, we have Francois also on the call too.
I had a small question about the operator. My understanding is that the operator will be in alpha for 1.3. I'm really interested in doing like a friction log and like a test drive of the new operator. Are there any efforts around that already existing? Does anyone know?
I do not think there is such things going on. So I would encourage that you contact Martin Ostrowski, and he will probably give you more up-to-date information.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so the operator.
Thank you.
Yeah. So the operator, I'm not sure if it's even landed in 1.3 because I'm looking at so the operator was supposed to land only on the CLI portion in 1.3, which would be as part of Istio CTL. But I'm looking at my Istio CTL. I don't see anything that's tentatively related to the operator at the moment.
It's experimental. I think it's one of the experimental comments.
There's a PR for documentation for it.
I think it's also important to call out that the operator is not actually an operator. It's only a CLI. So there is no operator capabilities in there.
Yeah, and even on the experimental, I don't see it right now, so.
The docs are on preliminary.istio.io. You can see this under the command reference for Istio CTL.
Okay, I have to check. Yeah, my binary.
CTL, experimental, manifest commands, etc.
Okay, I see it now. Geez, I would never thought that's related to the operator because it says commands related to Istio manifests. Yeah, so that's your answer. Istio CTL X, which is short for experimental manifest -- help.
Okay. Do folks think it may be a good idea to maybe wait a little bit before trying to do like a full test drive until the operator is more mature? Because I may lean towards that.
I think the plan is to have it free supported in 1.4, which is coming really soon. So I don't think it's too early to start. But again, think with Martin, if there are moving parts around the operator, he will be able to answer you. To see what is stable, what is testable right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and you probably can tell it's probably only being tested for very few people on the team, given the state being marked as experimental and people haven't connected the dots between manifest and operator yet. Yeah, I would agree with you. It's going to be very alpha at this moment.
If you want to give it a test run, you might want to use the operator install guide whose PR is about to be merged for 1.3. Right now, it's just the command reference that you'll see on the site because the operator install guide hasn't been merged yet.
Awesome. Thanks, Adam.
Any other questions or comments?
Lynn, I added a link to the new Istio deployment models concept. I would encourage the community to take a look and read through the doc. It includes a lot of glossary entries and definitions of many very fundamental Istio concepts. So I think it's definitely worth a read. And the document is going to be published on istio.io for Istio 1.3. So that's really close.
That's great. Yeah, thank you. Do you want maybe quickly highlight the changes for folks who already read it in the past?
Well, this is actually replacing the multi-cluster concept doc that we previously had. And the big change is that the new document doesn't only focus on multi-cluster deployments. It covers multi-cluster deployments and explains them, but it also covers other deployment models. And we structured the document in such a way that it goes from the low level of the deployment, say it starts with your cluster, and then it ends up with the different tenancy models after covering networking models, mesh models. So it's really us trying to give everyone clearer guidance as to what options are available to you when you are trying to decide what deployment model fits your needs. This is the first of, I'm sure, what will be many future iterations of this doc, but I think it gives us a very solid foundation upon which to build. I don't know. Ram, I don't know if you want to say something from your perspective as how this benefits our users.
I think you captured it well. Basically, we're learning from the community that that users are trying to extend their mesh from more than just one cluster to multiple clusters. So with that, there's various things for users to consider, where the control plane sits, where the data plane sits, and how the different levels of administrative control you want to have for your cluster administrators. So this document does a really good job outlining all the fundamental concepts that you need to understand to make decisions like that for your deployment models.
So where is this document?
It's posted in the community working doc under the please take a look PTAL link, and I also just posted it in the Zoom chat.
And it's available on the preliminary version of the website. So if you go to preliminary.istio.io and then go to the docs and the concepts, you will see the deployment models there.
Yeah, very good. Please take a look and let us know.
So I go to docs and then I go to which part, reference or concepts?
Concepts. Yeah. And then
deployment models. Got it. Okay. Awesome. Thank you.
No problem.
Is there a model for like creating a trust relationship with something that's outside of the mesh? Yeah, use case. We at Zendesk, we're setting up Istio clusters running inside of our data centers. We have acquired companies that have sort of their own infrastructure. That doesn't yet have Istio, not ready yet in Kubernetes, but it'd be nice to have a service and that authenticate to services inside of ours. So I was thinking to myself, okay, maybe if I put got a client cert that was signed by the CA that had the correct spiffy thing, the spiffy in the common name, I could kind of create a trust relationship. Do you know if anyone's done something like that?
The document does cover trust models, including sharing trust between meshes. I would encourage you to take a look at that particular section and see if it fits your use case. And if it doesn't, please let me know, because I would love to learn more so that a future iteration of the document can cover that use case. We can figure out how it would work.
Okay, yeah, I'll take a look.
Yeah, so just to be clear, this document is only a concept document that have multiple options. So it's important as you look through just to make sure your user scenario would actually fit in one of the concepts, because the community is trying to make sure all the different variations are captured. I don't think we have some of these pattern, like best practice pattern, and as far as detail to the steps rolled out for everyone yet. We want to start with the concepts, make sure, it captures what you guys wanted. And then we can start to roll out some of the patterns or some of the missing patterns afterwards. Does that align with what you have in mind too, Riggs?
Absolutely, Lynn. This is the first step of many, and our goal is to be able to provide the community and our users clear best practices that fit their use cases and use cases that we as a community identify as valuable to them. Yeah. So yeah, it's really important to note that this is the fundamental document, but several others will follow, including, like Lynn mentions, tasks and examples on how exactly to do this with detailed steps and the works.
Right. I mean, with current Istio, it is possible for you to set up some of these more advanced multi-mesh or multi-cluster patterns, but it does involve a lot of manual work and configuration. Like Riggs and Lynn said, this doc is basically kind of foreshadowing, what's coming in the future in terms of easier installation and easier management through things like the operator, maybe some higher level CRDs on top, and things of that nature. But this is the first step towards defining the architecture of such patterns.
So about 6 or 7 months ago, Steve Dake tried to kick off a research group to come up with an opinionated view on multi-cluster and multi-tenancy. Is this part of something which has come out of that? Because the last time I heard of that had been shelved because there was we couldn't get the momentum behind it within the community.
So go ahead, Lynn, sorry.
I was just going to say this, I guess this has been a few iterations between groups, and then it also bumped up as a subgroup within the environment working group now. So every other Wednesday, we have decided the environment work group is going to have one subgroup focusing on multi-cluster, multi-mesh. By the way, we haven't had much discussion on multi-tenancy, to your point on multi-tenancy, Kevin. The other of the week, every other Wednesday, we will focus on installation and operator as part of the environment work group. So this is part of the work coming out of the work group. We believe it's much better to do it in the open.
Well, sorry, to the point I made there, the research group was in the open, it was part of the community, it was something that Steve was trying to drive through the work groups.
I see, okay.
So it wasn't something which was internal to any particular company, it was proposed and pushed by Steve through the community about 6 or 7 months ago.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the relationship is to the previous group out of the research group, but right now we do have that subgroup, like Lynn mentioned, focused on multi-cluster patterns.
Okay, that's great. And I know that I've been talking to Josh about us presenting the work that we've done on the multi-tenancy stuff that we've got in our Maestro version. So
yeah, so in 2 weeks. Yeah, because you are on vacation, I believe, this Wednesday. Yeah, so we want to have you back maybe in 2 weeks. So that's how the rotation goes between the two subgroups, which is why it's in 2 weeks.
Great, that sounds great, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Any other open questions, comments?
I was just reading through your tenancy model thing. I think one of the things that will be interesting to us, at least, is this document seems to be mostly about trust between two meshes. So you got mesh A and mesh B, with control plane or separate control plane. The fact is, for our use case, we're going to have a chunk of time we have stuff in the mesh and some stuff that is services we run, but is outside the mesh, in different VPCs and bare metal, not in Kubernetes or something like that. And I know there's a kind of an extending the mesh thing.
Yeah, external services.
What are the? I mean, I guess you could just consider it anything outside is considered ingress, and you use those sort of models. But are there what are the patterns possible to have your stuff running inside of the Istio mesh to work with the other stuff that's kind of in your infrastructure, but not yet meshified.
The first thing I can think of is using service entries for some of those services that are external to the mesh, and that would allow you to manage them as if they were part of your mesh. So I would encourage you to visit the traffic management concept that I wrote for the previous release, where I cover service entries, and we do have several tasks under traffic management that relate to service entries.
Does that work for inbound stuff as well, or just outbound?
Inbound too, yes, as far as I understand. But
yeah, in our existing releases and documentation, this is usually referred to as mesh expansion, where you have an arbitrary service running somewhere that you want to be part of the mesh with no orchestration information about that service at all.
Okay.
So Riggs, it might be good to cover a few sentences of mesh expansion as part of this talk. I forgot if we do already covered it.
We did discuss that possibility. We decided that we need to think more thoroughly what model we want to recommend for the community in terms of mesh expansion. So that's why we tabled it to a future iteration of the doc. But yes, it's definitely one of those things that I kept notes that we need to revisit for future iterations.
Yeah, I do remember that discussion, Rick. Yeah, so I just put some link just to help you understand service entry and some of our existing docs on mesh expansion. I highly encourage you check these out, see if it would fit your purpose.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, any other topics we have?
Do any of you have any accepted KubeCon sessions? Because I know we heard back.
Yeah, speaking of mesh expansion, I'm giving a mesh expansion talk at KubeCon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Awesome.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks. Yeah, should be fun.
This is Srinivas from Pivotal, and I got accepted for a session, a 3-hour lab session. I'll be running it in London on September 12th. I'll be talking about using Istio on top of Pivotal Kubernetes service and using .NET Core microservices on Istio.
Very nice.
Awesome. Yeah.
So I've shared the link in the event section in the document, just in case anyone is interested.
Thanks. Oh, I didn't realize KubeCon schedule is already out. Thank you, Megan.
Yeah, I think it just went live like today.
Oh, wow. Cool. That's good to know.
Yep, plenty of Istio sessions.
Yeah, one thing that's really cool is that even outside the service mesh track, there's like several Istio talks. There's like a machine learning one with Kubeflow. There's a case studies one. It's really cool to see kind of it sort of proliferating across the ecosystem.
Is there a schedule for Serve Mesh Day or whatever that thing is on Monday right before KubeCon?
Yes.
Day 0, I think.
Yeah, so that hasn't been determined. It's supposed to be come out really soon, sometime next week also.
Looking forward to that too.
Yeah,
actually, the talk that I submitted for KubeCon got accepted is in the operations track, which is around using Gatekeeper and OPA to manage service mesh policy. So it's definitely spreading out across the different tracks.
Nice.
Yeah, I'd be really interested, Sandeep, in like the type of audience that is going to show up at that talk versus the strict service mesh track. I think you might get like a nice diverse audience of interested folks.
Yeah.
My only concern is that it's 4 o'clock on Thursday. Which is not a
BYOB.
We're doing an Istio lab on day 0 of the conference as well. It's hosted by IBM, and you'll find it on the CNCF website if you look under day 0 events. So if you have any developers from your company that don't have as much experience with Istio, this lab might be good for you to attend. It'll be like a 3-hour lab, mostly pretty introductory, but should be a thorough walkthrough of all the Istio tasks.
Do you have a link or anything for that, Ron?
I will post it.
I don't see it,
Where?
Ron.
Yeah, I was looking for it in the day 0 thing. Maybe it hasn't been updated yet, but as soon as I find it, I'll post it.
Maybe next meeting we can put in a
right. I will. Yep.
Awesome. Yeah.
So, Ram, is it typical to get day 0 labs in most of the KubeCon sessions, or?
This is actually not part of KubeCon. Like in this particular lab is hosted by IBM, but it's just like a co-located event.
Okay.
Amy, come back.
Any other conference news? Okay. Well, it's really nice talking to everyone. Does anyone have anything?
Yeah, if we have a minute, could I ask one like dorky little technical question I could not find the answer to anywhere? If you have 2 workloads in the mesh and you do not have mutual TLS enabled, but they're on Envoy sidecars talking to each other, what the traffic between the envoys, is that encrypted or not?
You say you don't have mutual TLS?
No mutual TLS. Just
so I think you have permissive, right? So permissive would allow HTTP traffic. I don't think it would be strict mutual TLS at that moment. You can actually see it in Kayali. That's the best way. So Kayali has this thing, you can enable the security badges, and then you can see if the traffic is enforced through mutual TLS. So
I know it's not mutual TLS, but like there's TLS, like my browser going to google.com is like TLS. There's no mutual about it, but it's still encrypted traffic. But the envoys, if you don't have mutual TLS, is just straight HTTP2?
I think so, and I think there's a flag to actually enable the encrypted communication.
Okay, so you can have them encrypted, like encryption in transit, even if you're not using mutual TLS?
I believe so. I'm looking to see if I can find the flag.
If your gRPC server is serving secure gRPC over HTTPS, then you should have unilateral TLS over that connection. But Envoy isn't controlling anything about that TLS. That's controlled between your client and server at that point.
Okay.
If you're talking about it inside the mesh, if you just think about plain Envoy, you would have to, even if you're just, let's say, using Envoy without Istio, you'd have to go through and configure the TLS settings. So at a baseline, it's just transporting your HTTP2 with whatever routing parameters you're setting.
Okay, cool. I couldn't tell one way or the other from the docs what that was. So thank you. And if there is a way, if there is some way to enable that without mutual TLS, that'd be useful to know.
Yeah, I would like to know too if there's a way to enable that. I thought it's only plain and enforce mutual TLS.
Because if I could say like, okay, I'll just turning on Istio, even we're not yet doing mutual TLS, and but saying all the traffic inside my mesh is now encrypted, that would be a great security win, like even without the mutual part.
Okay, I will take some notes and consult our security work group. Maybe we can try to provide that to you in the meeting minutes.
Cool. And one way that it'd be nice somewhere in the docs it would clarify what the traffic is if it's not mutual TLS.
Yeah.
And I can share with you that my next concept that I will be working on is a security concept, just to give it the same treatment that I did for traffic management and the Istio deployment docs. It's just that I have to work my way through these documents. And these are not easy documents to produce, so please.
Not at all.
not simple stuff we're dealing with here. I can completely relate. So, thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, yeah. Anything else?
So I do have a question. A while ago, we installed Istio on our sandbox cluster, and now it's time to just automate the validation part. Do you have any recommendations about how I can validate my Istio installation? With validation, what I mean is, so far I have done some manual checks, like I check whether TLS works fine, all the policy checks and telemetry reporting works fine. So I did everything manually, and now I would like to do it automatically.
Yeah, so we have Istio CTL verify install command. Have you tried it?
Yeah, I tried that, but I think it gives some basic information. It doesn't catch up whether I am able to just send all those metrics, those kind of things.
So the verify install, you can supply a YAML file. So it would actually validate that YAML file, make sure all the CRDs, make sure all the pods are running, all the services are running. So it gives a checking at the high level. We also have metrics at the control plane in the Grafana dashboard. You can see the control plane dashboard. You can also go down to pilot and mixer dashboard if you want to. So there's that has a lot more detail than the verify install command. So it's just a different level of details depending on which level you need.
But I still need to manually go to those dashboards and then check those metrics. There isn't a way for me to just make an API call and then validate that it works.
I think an approach you could take there is you kind of have a limited set of services, right? So if you just think about it like you're trying to check the same way you check for services running in Kubernetes, you could just determine that all the services are running all their pods and all the pods are in a running state. So that's kind of one way to just do a very set single view verification of running services.
Okay.
Do you mean that the control plane, like the CRD, is all that, or do you want to make sure that like all your Istio resources are valid, or what?
It is more about all everything is intact, and then all the functionality is out there, because I have done my installation via the brand new installer. I didn't use the old Helm charts, and there I have I come across with some regressions there. For instance, I was unable to send stack driver metrics, and then I have seen that there was some problem with the mixer itself, or from time to time I'm just seeing that I'm unable to send the metrics because the new installers introduced another regression depending on, like, it wasn't installing sidecar on my proxies as a sidecar to the telemetry piece. So these are things that are hard to validate, and I'm just trying to find a way to how I can just catch all these early on. I think these are also some missing pieces in whatever Istio uses to validate the repo. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Have you seen Istio Vet?
Yeah, like I was looking at that yesterday. I think that could also be useful for validating existing CRDs, but again, I see that as a tool to just validate that users can introduce, not the operators. But I might be wrong about that.
John, in terms of validation, there's a lot of work going on in that space right now. We actually have another meeting this upcoming Tuesday to discuss more in terms of how we're going to pursue validation in Istio 1.4. In the meantime, in 1.3, we do have 2 Istio cuddle commands. I'm sorry if someone else mentioned this before. Audio has been breaking up. We have Istio analyze and Istio cuddle inspect, both of which are shipping in 1.3. They provide minimal validation over YAML files or your live Kubernetes cluster. We're going to be expanding on that substantially in 1.4, including updates to the status of Kubernetes resources with validation information, such as if you referenced a gateway that doesn't exist. That'll get put into the status information of your virtual service. Does that make sense?
Yep, that makes sense. And this meeting you mentioned is, like, I'm not seeing that
Tuesday.
on there.
Yep, if you look on the Istio community calendar, you should see Validation Design Part 2 on Tuesday. I think it's at 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Pacific, if I recall.
Okay. Thank you.
But is the validation more targeted to the operators, or I thought it's more targeted to the user?
So it is more about like targeted to Istio operators.
Right. I know you want to be operator. I was asking Mitch.
I guess I'm having a hard time following the operator. When you say Istio operator, are you referring to the piece of software that we've built and are calling the Istio operator, or are you referring to a person who operates Istio?
A person.
Person who operates Istio. So we typically think Istio has at least two roles. One would be application developers who is using Istio to run their apps, and then there's operator. I tend to think it as a mesh admin who operates the mesh for the developers.
Maybe administrator or ops person is a better term to start using, because operator is now an overloaded term.
That's true.
So I think the audience for this particular value would be anyone who is going to be creating Istio config or modifying Istio config. So if you're creating virtual services, gateways, destination roles, that sort of thing, then this information is for you. Whether that falls under an operator, administrator, or user role, I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, those lines seem to be getting blurry in the Kubernetes and Istio worlds.
Okay, yeah, I feel like that's maybe more on the developer and user role of Istio. I have a question. I don't find the analyze command for Istio CTL. The inspect command, I believe, has a new name, which is describe.
That sounds right. The analyze command was discussed in the most recent config meeting, and I thought it was demoed there, but I'd have to dig to find out. You can look in the meeting notes of the most recent config meeting as well to get some details there.
Okay, can you maybe update this document once you find out?
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mitch.
Did you say that's in 1.3?
Yeah, so describe is in 1.3. You have to look under experimental though. I suspect if analyze exists, it needs to be under experimental also.
That is the idea, yes. Both of these are very early features that we expect to change substantially in 1.4 as we get a more holistic approach to validation.
So super happy there's work being done in that area. That's awesome.
I just shared an issue in the chat there that I think references the analyze in relation to the validate.
Oh, great. Yeah. So it's validate. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I guess it didn't make to 1.3 for sure.
I see.
Yeah, thanks for that information. Appreciate it.
Sure.
Any other topics? We have 18 more minutes, or I could let everybody go.
I think someone mentioned in the chat the control plane security enabled flag. Maybe they could talk more about that.
Yeah, that was me.
But the control plane security, that's not between the envoys, right? That's not between the service envoys talking to each other. That's just between the things that are in Istio system.
Yeah, so that's a Helm flag where you can control whether you want mutual TLS enabled for your control plane. Like.
Okay, cool. So the only at the moment the only way to create encrypted traffic is to enable mutual TLS between services in the data plane.
Well, that's for sure. Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Well, thanks everyone for joining. You guys have a few time back. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Good one.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.